Hello, hello. So it's Masto here. The music might be just a tad loud, so I'm going to turn it down just a little bit. There we are. Okay, so it's Masto here. Basically, what I am going to do, so just to summarize as an introduction, I am a member of the current Content Creators League known as the Chufti League. I am one of the Elite 4 members, and I've just seen, just on some Twitch chats and stuff, just a decent bit of misinformation, just creating a quick little guide with Chufti's approval, of course, just to provide some correct and just factual information, just all in one place for anyone that does need it. So with that said, we might as well just get straight into it. So we're going to start with talking about effort values, also known as EVs. And the simplest way to look at EVs is, so you see, you've got a Skeledoge here, and there's this little bit of text here called EVs. So you have 508 to invest, you have 510 total, and you basically choose to invest them however you want. So if you want a Skeledoge that has a bit of oomph to its attacks, you can put some EVs in attack. A special attack, in Skeledoge's case, being a primarily special attacker, you would look to do that. And then if you wanted to make it bulkier, you could put a bit in HP, maybe some of the special defense, maybe a little bit less defense. So up to you however you want to do that. Effort values are up to the player's control in how they train their Pokemon, making each one different. So in game, what are the easiest ways to train them? Well, the method I like doing, I just use EV vitamins. Pretty simple enough. They are costly, so if you don't have the money in game, we're going to look at alternative ways around that as well. But 1 HP up would give 10 HP EVs, 1 protein, 10 attack EVs, iron for defense. Yeah, all of them listed here. You can sort of see just what they provide. And you can use vitamins all the way up to maxing your stats. So if you wanted to max your special attack, we go back to the Skeledoge, and we want to just put 252 in, we would feed it 25 calciums, and then probably also look to use feathers as well. Feathers are here. They increase an EV stat by a single point. That way you're using 2 feathers instead of using a whole nother bottle of calcium, which can sort of eat away at your resources. So to prevent doing that, you can always go to the EV feathers just to fine tweak and do that little bit of fine tuning on them as well. There is an alternate for EV vitamins as well. If you're a big fan of doing some ogre ousting, you've probably seen Mochis, right? So all 6 of these, the health, muscle, resist, genius, clever, and swift Mochis, they all act the exact same as a vitamin, basically giving you a 10 EVs in the respective stat. The health Mochi being for HP, muscle for attack, resist for defense, genius for special attack, clever for special defense, and swift for speed. And yeah, so with those, there is a detailed document that I'm reading off. I will put that in the description as well, just to help with a visual alongside of seeing it in writing as well. Like, maybe that does help. For the fresh start Mochi, we might get to that one in a quick little bit. We're going to look more at, if you don't have those resources, EV training in general. So, EV training you can do off wild Pokemon, and from those wild Pokemon, you have 6 power items. That's your weight, bracer, belt, lens, band, and anklet. And what they're beside there is what they relate to, so weight for HP, bracer for attack, belt for defense, etc. They do say that in-game as well. So each of these power items, they don't give you like a multiplier, they give you a plus boost. So if you are tackling wild Pokemon and something in your party's holding the power weight, you'll get the EVs for that Pokemon you've KO'd, plus an extra 8 for your HP, because you're holding that power weight. Even if it's a Pokemon that you didn't KO in that same EV yield. We can look a bit more into that EV yield momentarily. Before we do that, just going to give a quick rundown on a few other things in regards to EV training as well. There's no Macho Brace or no Pokerus in Scarlet and Violet. So just bear that in mind when looking to EV train. These can all 6 of these items can be purchased in Mezagoza for 10,000 yen or Poke dollars. The currency in game, or League points as well. I do believe League points is another currency to use for that. And it'll take 28 battles if you have a power item and then a Pokemon with a +1 EV yield in that stat to reach 252. I do have examples of all of them. We'll go over to those in a moment. Auto battles, they don't give EVs, so feel free to auto battle to your heart's content if you're not looking for EVs, if you're looking for like just strictly shiny hunting. In the off chance that you do run into a shiny, you can catch it because catching Pokemon does award those EVs still. So it would be the equivalent of knocking it out. If you catch it, you still get the EVs. And you can EV train up to 6 Pokemon as long as they're in your party and it is not fainted. As long as one of them gets the knockout, the EXP gets shared across the party if they're alive. Therefore, they'll gain the effort values as well as if they contributed into that battle. And if you are new to EVs and you're EV training and you're sort of just going to stick to KOing specific Pokemon within an EV yield and you accidentally run into something that provides a different EV, you can just run away from the battle. Running doesn't give you any EVs. So I'm going to quickly look at the berries now as well. These berries are one of 2 ways to reduce your EVs. Each berry on screen, Pomeg Berry, Kelpsie Berry, Quolot Berry, Honju Berry, Greppa Berry, and Tomato Berry. They subtract 10 from a specific state. You can see that on screen, but Pomeg for HP, Kelpsie for attack, Quolot for defense, etc. That's all. That should all be in the descriptions in-game as well. The other I do want to mention on this page, the Fresh Start Mochi, that flat eliminates all EVs on a Pokemon, which basically gives it the equivalent of being not having a single EV in there as well. That takes it just flat straight to 0. Alrighty, and now looking to where to train. That one we will go into here. So easiest way to sort of go about it. A lot of the Pokemon in this example here are very weak, and they should be one-hit knockouts by most moves in the game, bearing like immunities. Like for example, Azuro's a fairy type and a normal type, so obviously ghost moves and dragon moves won't have any effect when using them on an Azurill. So Azurill, they can be encountered along the south river of Los Platos. You can use an encounter boosting sandwich. Using encounter boost fairy should help be able to encounter those along the riverbed there. They give 1 HP EV. So with the 9 EVs, so with that 1 plus the power weight adding 8 for a total of 9, then 28 KOs. That'll give you your 252 HP EVs. And then you also can manually look to do the maths as well. So if you don't want 252 EVs, if you want something like 124, you could sort of look and do that maths and make sure you just work in lots of 9 when you look to do that. Yeah, so we'll run over the rest of where the rest of them are. Shinx is east of Mezagoza, so that's near where, like, it's sort of where the sand is when you're heading towards to take on Cloth. Definitely use an encounter boost electric sandwich there for that. That gives your attack. I've named them all here as well, like the HP, attack, and defense, etc. For defense, you have an option of Scatterbugs or Tarantulas. Just a bug sandwich south of Mezagoza. Pretty simple stuff there. You have an option of 2, so you can run into either or. They both provide defense. Psyducks south of Los Protoss near the Wither. I think that's similar to where the Azuras are. Use a water encounter sandwich for that one. And they give you a special attack. Your special defense east of Mezagoza is Spoink. Spoink there. Definitely use a psychic encounter sandwich there as well for them. And last 2 save defense, Fletchling and Rookie D. Found south of Mezagoza, same as the bugs. They both provide speed, so with that power anklet and carrying of those, you get the idea, but that's just running through all of them there. Alright, and to quickly look at checking your EVs, easiest way... Pardon me, still got a bit of a cough. So how to check the EVs there. So EVs are pretty simple to check. When you go to check the EVs, when you go into your Pokemon, you'll go into it and then you'll select the summary screen. Then you'll move to the next tab and there'll be hexagons with stats on it. When you're on that screen, you hit L, and L sort of provides you with a 2 hexagon grid. There's a darker one, which is your base stats, and then there's a lighter hexagon that provides a lighter yellow hexagon that provides you with your EVs as well. When you haven't trained anything and you've been training it in attack, when you check it, the hexagon will be the same for all other 5 points, except the attack. It'll be pointed outwards more, showing that you have been putting EVs into that stat. When a stat is completely maxed out, so if you have 252 EVs in it, the name of the stat will sparkle. So if I trained a Skeledirge and Skeledirge has max HP, on that screen the HP word would sparkle. You can have up to 2 sparkling because maxing 2 stats uses almost all of your EVs. You'll have 4 left over. You can pop that in just another stat there as well. And when the bright yellow hexagon turns blue, that means you've completed your EV training. All 510 EVs have been used. If there is an error or a mistake on it, it'll be looking to use those EV reducing berries or the fresh start mochi and looking to start from there again. So that's enough about EVs. Let's talk a bit into natures. So with natures here, not that one, that one. So we have mints. Mints allow natures to be changed on the fly. Natures, generally speaking, they influence 2 stats. One in a beneficial way and one in a negative way by, I think it's roughly around 10% or so. Generally, you will want to do this because most Pokemon will either be a strict physical attacker or a strict special attacker. So there'll always be one of those stats that you generally won't be using. We do have all the main mints listed here. We also have this one as well. That's Jolly and Speed. The green mints are your speed boosting natures. So if you want that extra little bit of speed on something like a Gengar or a Greninja or like a Meowscarada, just stuff that's fast like Fluttermane even as well, like just that extra little bit of speed boost there, you give them one of those mints. And each one has their own respective buffs and drops. I've got a list of there. Instead of reading through all of them individually, I do have them with a slight color code with a plus and minus on there on the document as well. So definitely make sure to run through and check that out as well. And all mints are purchasable for 20,000 Pokecoin in the Chansey supply store. So they can also be found just around Paldea as well. Not 100% sure where on each individual location, but they do exist. And then a good example actually with the natures. So I've got 2 Skeledirges here. I'm going to move that down so you can see exactly what I'm saying. So these 2 Skeledirges, they both have 211 HP, 72 attack, 120 defense, 162 special attack, 105 special defense, and 86 speed. but what you can see, so we're using a modest nature here, which is boosting the special attack and lowering the attack. And while on the other one, we have a calm nature, so boosting that special defense and lowering that attack. But in a situation like this, you generally want to boost the special attack because it's the higher base stat. And look at that, we have 40 remaining EVs that we can use there, as opposed to the one that's calm, where we don't have any. So we're getting a more optimal EV spread using that calm nature, where we can throw that into some other stats. Like we can throw like a little bit into speed there, meaning we're faster than the other Skeledirge. Bit of a defense there as well. You can just kind of make everything just stronger with this Skeledirge, as opposed to the other Skeledirge, because we have a nature that is more beneficial for what we want to run. So do also keep that in mind as well when having the unoptimal EV spreads. If you're looking to build on Pokemon Showdown, it does give you a little tip there. I'm not sure if you can see it down the bottom, but it's got down the bottom, it's got, you can use a different nature to save X amount of EVs, and it gives you that example down there. So it's really good idea, especially if you're fairly new to EV training in natures and all that sort of a thing. It just gives you a good little insight there on how to optimize that to make it as best as possible for you. So definitely would encourage giving that a play around as well. And then next is last step would be IVs. So your individual values. We'll head over to these because these will be important for it. So your IVs, they're predetermined based on your wild Pokemon, gift Pokemon, or something that you've hatched from an egg. IVs can't be modified with the exception of Hyper Training. Hyper Training we will get to in a moment. The IVs range from 0 to 31, 0 being the worst and 31 being the best. So unless if you're wanting to hit a specific stat, for example, something like that would be minimum speed Torkoal, because Torkoal's generally nice and slow, and generally can function with having that slower speed, or a special attacker, specifically special attacker. You'd want to have as many of your IVs be 31 or Hyper Trained. Hyper Training will give the equivalent of a 31, but we'll go through that one in a moment. You want the attack to generally be as low as possible due to two reasons. The first one being self-hitting and confusion. When you're confused and hit yourself in confusion, you do take confusion damage calculated off your attack stat. So the lower that is, the less damage you do to yourself. Pretty simple stuff. The other, bit more complex, is the move Foul Play. So the Foul Play uses your own attack stat to deal damage. So you'd want that to be as low as possible. And the example of that would be, if you're a Gengar, you're going up against a Murkrow, and a Murkrow uses Foul Play on your Gengar. The Foul Play uses Gengar's attack stat, not Murkrow's attack stat. And because Gengar's generally built to be a special attacker, the lower your attack stat, the lower that Foul Play damage will be. Sometimes that can be the difference between a one-hit knockout and a two-hit knockout, or something like a 2-hit and 3-hit knockout. Also to take into account Terra Blast as well. Depending on stat modifiers, Terra Blast can change from a physical to a special move. But if you're primarily like a special attacker and want that Terra Blast to be as special as often as possible, ideally you'd want that attack stat to be as low as possible to risk the least amount of chance of that turning into a physical move. Alrighty, now here's where we get to Hyper Training. So this is where the bottle caps are coming in. So when you Hyper Train, you can use either a bottle cap, which is the silver ones here, or a gold bottle cap, which is that one over here. And you can basically max out an IV on any Pokemon that is higher than level 50 in your Scarlet and Violet game. Hyper Training, yeah, just essentially, as I said before, maximizing an IV to 31, regardless of whether it's 0 or 30. An IV of 31 obviously cannot be Hyper Trained because it's already at max. The game prevents you from doing so as well. So the main difference between these two items here is a bottle cap, the silver bottle cap. They allow you to max one IV up to 31. and gold bottle caps max everything on a Pokemon up to 31. So you can sometimes look to do that on some of your more physical attackers, because there's less urgency to have that minimal special attack. But do remember that if you're using a gold bottle cap, it'll automatically default to all of them being that 31. So if you're wanting to only have specific stats boosted with hyper training, make sure to use bottle caps. I generally find bottle caps to be the superior item to have plenty of over gold bottle caps for reasons like that. Unfortunately, we don't have anything like a rusted bottle cap to lower those IVs to 0. Still waiting on that one. Maybe that comes out in the future. So, with that said, we're going to look about how to obtain said bottle caps. So, regular, the silver bottle caps, they can be purchased in the Delibird present shops. You got to make sure that you do have 6 badges before doing so, and they're 20,000 Pokédollars per bottle cap. It is quite expensive, but generally speaking, quite worth it. So keep that in mind. The Porto Marinada auctions, they definitely can be there sometimes as well. There's a lot of items that go on rotation there, so don't rely on that as your main source of getting those bottle caps. Your Terra Raid rewards, 5, 6, or 7 star dens. Chufti does those on a Tuesday night, so make sure you do get amongst doing that with them, especially if you're a member of the Chufti League. He does run those to help the community, so definitely get amongst it. The gold regular bottle caps can also be Academy Ace Tournament rewards. That can be varied between that. Sometimes you get mints, sometimes you get vitamins. All different kind of rewards that you can get from the Ace Academy tournament, so don't use that as a reliance. First time registering 100 Pokemon in the Kitakami Pokedex in DLC 1, you'll be rewarded a bottle cap there, so that'll be a freebie for those if they're collecting that. Item printer, that's in the DLC 2. That can sometimes be printed out randomly depending on what Pokemon droppings you put into that item printer. And lastly, this one's probably a pretty handy one for those a bit tight on cash. Pick up Pokemon level 71 to 100. They can have a chance of picking up the bottle caps. I'm not 100% sure what the exact figures are on those. You could definitely look that up just by doing like a pick up Pokemon search on Google. Surely there's probably somewhere with those exact figures. But from 71 above with pickup, you can definitely look at doing those. Decent way to farm those as well if you do really need a bunch of bottle caps. Alright, in terms of gold bottle caps, you've got the Porto Marinada auctions, the Ace Academy tournament rewards, same as for the bottle caps as well, so you could get either or in there. Completing 210 registrations in the Blueberry Pokedex, so that's DLC 2. So each DLC has their own Pokedex. You can get your own rewards for completing milestones in that Pokedex. So it'd be 100 in Kitakami for the regular, and then 210 in Blueberry for the gold. And then at the very top of the terrarium, at the top of the terrarium core, you will need Koraidon or Miraidon to be able to fly to be able to get to that. But you do have a freebie Goldie at the top there, alongside some other goodies that are up there as well. And of course, the item printer in DLC 2 that can reward you with gold bottle caps from there as well. Alright, last thing to quickly talk about, because this video has gone on for way too long now, is the judge function. So, the judge function, you will need to complete the base game after completing the Professor battle in Area 0 and rolling through the initial credits in Paldea. Following that, you can talk to any Pokemon Center nurse in Paldea to unlock it. A small little guide on how to get to it after you've unlocked the judge feature. So you'd open your box in the menu, so just start menu, then into your boxes. Select the Pokemon, hover over the Pokemon you wish to view. So just hover over it, you don't need to like click on it, just hover over it. And then you hit the plus button, and then you'll see the judge screen come up. The values will be shown on screen. The values will look something like this on the right hand side. And for each of the So you can see each there. There's a different word just on all of them. There are IV ranges based on what letters they are. We can run through them as well. So best there, that special attack is best. That's a 31 IV. So when you see best, happy days, that's a 31 IV. Ideally, you wanted it in that specific stat. Fantastic is 30 IVs. So that can be okay if you're at level 50. It's not the worst thing in the world, but it is unfortunate that it's just shy of best there. Very good, as you can see in the defense stat there. That's between 26 and 29, so it's only a 4-stat window there. That's much on the higher side, but it's really a case of you're wanting to either maximize or minimize, with very few exceptions. So anything that isn't really like best or like no good or in some cases decent, you could probably almost look to do that. But it's just making sure that you know, like, if you need a specific number or not before doing that. Because if you've hyper-trained something, you can't un-hyper-train it. So just do keep that in mind before using the resources as well. Then after very good, we got pretty good, which is up there. HP stat there, pretty good. Pretty good is between 16 and 25, so a bit more of a window there of an idea. More on, still a bit on the average side. Not, yeah, like pretty good, basically just sums it up. Decent. Decent is one that bothers me a lot, because decent is a range of 1 to 15. Sometimes having a low IV of something like 1 or 2 or 3 isn't too terrible. Like, you don't mind having that. But decent means you could have one that's around 1, 2, or 3. Or you could have something that's like 12 or 13. And that sometimes is just too much. So having something to sort of like split those hairs a bit there, that would also be like pretty cool as well. But, you know, that's just me on a feed of doing. So decent is 1 to 15 for your IVs there. And then no good is 0. So that's absolute minimum there. So if you've got 0 in your speed or 0 in your attack, you are cheering. If you wanted those, because that basically means it's as low as it can go. So if you have like a speed reducing nature and a 0 speed IV, you are absolutely as slow as you possibly can be for that Pokemon species. And anything with hyper trained written instead of like no good or very good or decent, etc. That means it's hyper trained. It's basically the equivalent of something that is best, because hyper training makes it to the equivalent of 31. So yeah, there you go. And you can see, do another example here. So this is a Skeledirge here. Everything's just neutral. You can see here with 0 IVs, you can see the stats there. And then with 31 IVs in those stats, you see how just every number is just higher. And 99% of the time, you want the bigger number because it means you have more stats, which means you either deal more damage or take less damage. Generally a good thing. There's some very rare cases where you don't really care if you have those IVs high or not. There's some strategies that do involve using that. But more often than not, you're generally going to want to be happy with as many 31s or as hyper trains as possible, and such forth. So yeah, that's basically the guide there. There's all. So we'll have the we'll have the document there for it as well, just with the scribbling and stuff. There's a lot of just detail in there as well to have it read, alongside to cross check the video here as well. So yeah, that's about it. We're trudging on to just close to like half an hour. So pretty keen to stop this, just be rambling along for ages. I'll put time cues of when things start talking or whatnot. But yeah, that's essentially it. Thank you for watching, and I'll link the Chufti League as well. If you haven't signed up for the Chufti League yet, I think applications are still being accepted, so make sure to go in and do those. Alrighty, I'll see you.